Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Yet to Be Named podcast. I want to give a shout out to Cynthia Guy. Last week, she gave me some suggestions for names. I am absolutely looking for input on the podcast name. So if you have ideas, I'd love to hear them. Essentially, the podcast theme is to educate people on what's coming for us when it comes to marketing. Marketing, if you haven't noticed, is shifting, and it's getting a lot more techy, I think. And I would even argue that there is some things that are coming that we have no real knowledge about. Like I talked about blockchain and tokenization last week. So I think these are things that are coming, and going to be a part of our ecosystem. So being on the cutting edge of the knowledge and the know-how, I think is going to be super powerful for us. So that's kind of the vision I have, is like, educating all for the purposes of making sure that and can take advantage of all the new knowledge that's coming out and the opportunities that those things are going to create for us as we're trying to grow our businesses. So if you have any ideas on names, I'm all about that. So today I want to talk about something that is kind of near and dear to my heart. I actually wrote a book on it, Will the Real You Please Stand Up? Show up and prosper in social media. And the concept of it is really AI cannot do certain things for us. AI cannot replicate our personality. AI cannot do a lot of the things that we have to bring to the table. We have to be the lean in and be the voice of our brand. AI can do a lot of things. AI is a magical space, but there are certain things I think that AI absolutely cannot do for us. So I felt like that this was the next evolution in the podcast, is like talking about that, just to give you some I think a reality check, because I feel like a lot of people are using AI incorrectly, or not in a way that is really representative of their voice, their personalities, their brand. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today. So if y'all bear with me. So as you guys are coming in, I'd just love to hear from you. Where in the world are you this morning? Basically what I want to do, I'm testing out some theories with this whole podcast thing. So one, we're doing a video podcast, obviously, because I'm live. But also we are always tech related issues every time you go live. So we're testing a few things as it relates to, a quality experience. So we want to hear from you. We want to make sure that you, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. This isn't about me just sharing information. I really want to give value and make sure that your questions are seen and heard and answered. So feel free to drop in any questions that you have. That way I can, I'll circle back at the end, because what I want to do is really focus on the content, so that I have a clean podcast that I can upload when we get to it. and then I'll circle back at the end to kind of get any questions that you guys have. So please feel free to ask any questions. We love them. We want them. And like I say, I hope this will be an interactive experience moving forward. If anybody, I think that was all the housekeeping things. Don't forget to share any ideas you have. Seriously, I really want input on names. We've got Edward in the house. Good morning, Edward. It's good to see you. Is it Burr up there? Yeah, it's a little bit, it's fascinating. I'm in Virginia now. Moved here it's been 2 years, crazy. Almost 2 years. I guess it has been 2 years ago. And it is already getting fall here. Like everything, it's like the leaves are falling. And I'm like, I thought that would be like October, it's crazy how quick fall is coming. Already getting chilly again too. So real quick, if you guys know anybody that this would benefit, please feel free to tag them down under. If you want to sprinkle it out into the world, to use my friend Molly's terminology there, please hit the S button and pass it along. We love that. Love to impact as many people as we can. Okay, so all good there. I think I'm going to just jump right in and start with the podcast. So we're going to get a clean output here. So pause for a second. All right. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Yet to Be Named podcast. I'm your host, Kim Garst, and today we're diving into a topic that's really got me fired up more than I would say the 4th of July barbecue. We're going to be talking about something that AI just can't do for us, and that is building a genuine, thriving community. Now, why am I so excited about this? Well, because in this age of AI and automation, so many people still aren't using the automation feature, but where AI can whip up an article for us faster than we can say, a content strategy, there's still one thing that belongs solely to us humans, our ability to connect, to build relationships, and to create a community that feels like home to our peeps. Okay, that's super important. I'm going to repeat that. To create a community that feels like home, so they feel safe, connected, and valued in that community. I can't tell you how often in some of the communities that I've created, how people are really appreciative of being able to share things that they don't feel safe saying in social media, where they feel seen, where they see other people like them. And so I think it's super important to have that value, right? And to make them feel welcome and understood and give them a place for their voice. So let's roll up our sleeves and get down to business. We're going to explore 5 key steps to building a content community that will showcase your humanity and expertise in a way that no AI could ever replicate. And I think that's the key here, is understanding the value of your knowledge, your expertise, and then how you marry that and use AI as your creative partner, but not as the only partner. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is defining your community's human-centered purpose. Now, that's basically just a fancy term for, really figuring out what matters to your people. When we need to figure out the heart and soul of our community, which is really what I'm talking about here, this isn't about algorithms or data points. It's about those real human connections and needs. And here's where it gets really interesting. Even if you're not sure where to start, AI can be super helpful in brainstorming the process, but it can't replace your human insight and passion. So let's say you're scratching your head like, okay, Kim, I hear you, but I don't even know where to begin. Well, that's where I think AI can lend a helping hand. If you don't really know what fires your people up, or what's the center of like the heart that you could put forward in your communities, then I think this is going to be super powerful for you. Using AI tools, you can analyze your existing content and your audience interactions to help you identify like common themes or questions that your audience has consistently. So that allows you to generate a list of potential community purposes based on your niche or your industry. It can provide data on trending topics or maybe like unmet needs in your area of expertise or within your community. I think sometimes when you're in the social space, a lot of times, you forget to listen, you forget to pay attention for highlighting those opportunities, maybe is a better way of saying it, to find out what really matters to people. But here's the kicker, and this is where I think your humanity has to shine. I'll say brighter than a firefly on a summer evening. AI can give you the ingredients, but you're the master chef who is going to bring it all together. Once you've got those AI generated ideas, like if you drop in, if you have all those generated ideas, then you can ask yourself, okay, all right, does this make sense? Does this resonate with me on a personal level? I've said this so often to people, not always, but in many cases, our ideal person is a previous version of ourselves. So if it resonates with you on a personal level, more than likely your person is going to resonate with it as well. So then you have to look at it and say, well, does my unique experiences and expertise align with these community needs? Like, can I actually address those things? Does my skill set help with those things? Because lots of times I find this true in the AI space in particular, is sometimes I get questions that are broader than or things that I haven't really delved into yet. That gives me an opportunity to step up and learn something new. One, I could do that. And the other flip side of that is, well, maybe I'm not as equipped. Maybe I can help find a resource that would be better suited for that person, right? But the real crux of it is, what personal touch can I bring that an AI never could? See, that's the key here. So let's say you are a graphic designer who's been around, you've kind of weathered the storms of freelancing, and AI might say, hey, here's a topic that your person is struggling with. And that topic could be financial planning for creatives. And that could be a community purpose, right? Or a community theme. But you, with your human experience and expertise, might say, well, hey, what creatives really need is a judgment-free zone to talk about the emotional roller coaster, right, of regular income. That is a huge problem for those that are freelancers. It's the chasing the next client problem, right? So the community could be really about that. So that's the kind of insight that no AI can ever replicate. It comes from your lived experiences, your empathy, and your human understanding of the nuances of your field or your niche. So remember, AI can help us brainstorm and it can gather data, but it's your personal experiences, your failures, your successes. These are the things that will ultimately shape your community's purpose and make it uniquely valuable to your person, your ideal avatar, your ideal customer. So absolutely use AI as a tool in your toolbox. But remember, you're the master builder. Your community's purpose should be as unique as your fingerprint, infused with your personal touch and human insight. So keep in mind that AI, and I'm going to say this probably several times throughout the course of this podcast, is AI is your creative partner, but you are the creative director. Okay. And I think it's important for you to understand that you have to belly up. You have to come to the table. All right. So the next thing that I think it's super important for us to understand is you have to understand and see your person, the community members, as people, not dollar signs, y'all. This is super important. I think a lot of times when we are out there hustling in our business, we forget that the people we serve are people. There are people behind these computer screens, right? All of you right now that are joining me live, I know you're somewhere, you're sitting in your office, you are maybe in your car. I hope you're not driving. Maybe you're out walking this morning. You could be anywhere, but the point is, I know there's another person on the other side of this screen. And just because you are paying attention, I want you to know I'm here to give value, and whether or not we ever do business. And we have to understand that is showing up and giving that value and understanding that our people are first serve, don't sell, and leaning into that motto. And then the rest kind of falls into play. But let's dig into this just a little bit more. I think you can do this with a little help from AI. So again, I really want to encourage you to understand the value of you in this whole AI space. But let's dig in and understand how you can marry the two, because I think AI can lend a hand in understanding your community members better. So I'm not just going to give you some theoretical ideas here. I'm going to share some real tools and methods that I use myself, but I want you to remember these are just helpers. Your human touch is what's really going to make the magic happen. So, analyzing things like your social media profiles and interactions. Okay, like what does that mean and how do I do it, right? Well, the way I do it, and this could be done with any, I think, any social media tool that has analytics. Personally, I use Agora Pulse. It's a powerful social media management tool. It allows me to schedule, but it's got a lot of AI powered analytics features. And I think that's the really what I want to key in on here. If you have a social media tool of choice that gives you analytics, it can help you understand what content is resonating most with your audience, when they're the most active, and it can even help you identify your most engaged followers. This kind of insight is gold when you're building a community. And another way to do this, and I love this technique, is using survey responses. Now, okay, well, like, do I have to set up a survey somewhere? How does that work? Well, I'm going to share how I do it. And it's kind of a little bit of a behind the scenes look at, one, how I do this in my business, and more importantly, how you could do it in your business. I personally run a free community. It's called Authority Creators, and it's housed, if you will, on the school.com platform. So if you're not already there, if you're not a member, you need to be there, and you can jump in at kimgarst.com/community. So you can join our community, and you'll see that when you join, it'll ask you some questions. One of the questions we've asked periodically, we change them up because we're always testing the feature. But one of the benefits of using the platform is very similar to a Facebook group. They give us the ability to ask 3 questions to all of our new members. Now, I use one of these 3 questions to ask an open-ended question. Now, this open-ended question can be shifted to suit your needs, but one of the ones that we've used is, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to implementing AI in your business? And once a month, I download these responses into an Excel spreadsheet, and then I turn to ChatGPT, my little AI sidekick, or at least one of them, and I ask it to analyze the responses and to really key in on the most important themes. And this is important, rank them from most to least. So let's say, for example, I have 10 people who've said this is their problem, and I have 5 people who say this is my problem, and I have 1 person that says this is my problem. So obviously I want to key in on the majority, right? The majority rules first. So that problem is, for 10 people, that's a problem. So that gives me invaluable feedback. I can now address that problem. So it really gives me a clear picture of kind of what those top tier problems are for my community. This method is a game changer, y'all. It really allows me to understand exactly what my community needs are straight from their mouths, using their own words, which I can also use in my copywriting, hint, hint, hint. But it's processed in a way that I can easily act on. Now, that is harder to do with some community tools, like it's not as easy to do with Facebook, for example. But most community tools today afford you the opportunity to gather data. So if yours isn't allowing you to do that, I would suggest maybe thinking that through. If you're just starting a community, or you would like to start a community, you can definitely take a peek at the school platform. We'll drop in a link for you on that. Okay, so next up, let's talk about our person. Do you know what your person is? Most of us think our persona, our buyer persona, that's a fancy word for saying our person. We think we know them at a baseline. Now, for this, I've really developed I think a hugely valuable process. And I teach this in my AI Advantage Masterclass. It all starts with market research, which, let's just be real, traditionally, and I will even say historically, most small business owners, solopreneurs, online business marketers, have not had a touch point for customer data, or I will call it market research more than customer data. It's not something that we've really had access to in the past. It's been hugely expensive. And it's just not something we usually start with. It's like we build our customer data or customer avatar as we go. We don't start out with a clear picture of what that looks like. But here's where AI does come into play. With AI, the game has changed. I use AI tools to gather and analyze market data. I look at the trends. Research, I have ChatGPT or any AI tool of your choice, I guess. I help them, I use that information to help me build my customer avatars or my customer personas. But here's the kicker, and this is where your human insight comes in. I don't just accept what ChatGPT gives me at face value. I use my expertise. I use my knowledge of my community that I've built over the years, and I review these personas. I refine them based on my, experience and understanding of my audience, and continually update them as I learn more about my community. So I encourage you to do the same. Now, if you're just starting out and you don't like, I don't have a community, I don't have that insider knowledge. That's why doing the market research and building buyer personas based on that research is going to be invaluable to you. But here's the thing, I'm going to say it again. Although AI tools can give you a ton of data and it can give you a lot of initial insights, but they can't tell you the whole story. They can't pick up on the emotion behind like a survey response or understand the context of a social media interaction. At least not yet. It's coming, y'all. It's coming. AI is getting smarter every day. But that's where you actually come into play. That's where you have to step in. ChatGPT might tell me that 40% of my audience is struggling with, I'll say, prompt engineering, right? But with my experience, I can say, well, hey, they're not just struggling with writing prompts, they're feeling overwhelmed by the rapidly changing AI landscape, and they're really just afraid of being left behind. See, that is an emotional component that prevents them from really getting better at the core problem, right? And that's a problem. That kind of insight comes from me. It comes from my experiences and my deeper understanding of my community. So while these AI powered tools can be super incredibly helpful for helping me gather and analyze data, it's our human brain that turns that information into real actionable insights that we can bring into our business and do something with. So you're the one who can look at these analytics and say, I know exactly how my community members are feeling right now because I've been there myself. See, that's the key, is you have to remember your human experience, your empathy and intuition are what will truly help you understand and connect with your community members. Okay. So that's 1 and 2. Let's move on to number 3, which is bringing your humanity to every interaction. How do you do that? With a little AI assistance. Again, a lot of the things I think that we've traditionally struggled with AI, or maybe just bringing that human element back into it after we've leveraged AI. AI can be our assistant. It doesn't have to be the shebang, right? So let's talk about this real quick. Moving into this space with some focus, I think, is where the heart of the matter really rests. So we're talking about bringing your authentic, messy self to every interaction. And I'm going to say this because I feel like a lot of times we think we have to be perfect. When I wrote the book, Will the Real You Please Stand Up? It's like, okay, y'all, this is one of the things I struggled with the most when I first started in social media, is finding my voice and being okay with the imperfections of my life and my business and all the things. And believe it or not, AI can actually help you do that more effectively. Humanizing the communication that you put out into the world is one of those things. So let me talk a little bit about a tool that I find super helpful when it comes to communicating and humanizing my content. Um, I've done this for, I don't know, ever since I started my community. So I started the AI Authority, the AI Authority Creators Community. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did consistently was try to make sure people were seen. And I wanted to, respond to everyone. But it can be overwhelming. So Claude, if anyone has not used Claude before, I feel like that Claude as an AI tool is awesome. In the, I would call it human writing style. I find that it is really great for creating content that is, I would call it like feels like a human wrote it. So I think it has a way with words that can really streamline your communication process. So this is how I use it. I will drop in a comment from a community member, and then I'll ask Claude to help me draft responses. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't just take what it gives me and run with it. One of the values I have, because I have so much content out there, that it recognizes when I say write in my voice, right? So I'll say, hey, respond in Kim Garth's voice. But if that's not your situation, then you can give it a overall perspective on your voice. If you don't know how to find your voice and give it a description, then I do teach that in my AI Authority Masterclass. So I'm just dropping that again. But really training it in your voice and giving an instruction on your voice is going to be super powerful. But let's just assume you don't necessarily know what that looks like right now. You don't have a description of your voice. You haven't trained AI to speak like you. So one of the things I do is once it gives me something back, I will shift it. I'll say, well, I wouldn't say it like this. And once I've rewrote what it gave me, I will drop it back in and I'll say, hey, for learning purposes, this is how I would respond to this. So then it starts to learn my style, right? So for example, Claude might suggest polite responses to a member's success story. You know, it may take a basic structure and jazz it up with my style. So I might say, it might give me congratulations, blah blah blah. But I would turn that into something that's very unique that would sound like me, like congratulations on landing that big client, Sandra. That's fantastic news. I remember when I landed my first big fish, I was so excited that I could hardly sleep for a week. So I basically take what I would say and then, hey, this is how I would respond to this for future learning purposes. So it's like, again, having a helpful assistant who gives you the bones of a message, but you're the one who puts the meat on it. Okay. So this combo of AI efficiency and personal flair or personal personality, I would say, it's a real time saver that still keeps things genuine. So one of the things I find lots of times when people are posting on social or even in a community, it's they're just free thinking their ideas and there's no real structure to it. So one of the things that I find so time saving from the perspective of this particular tip that I'm giving you is AI streamlines and make sure that you respond to all the touch points that they've talked about. Blows my mind every time because I don't have to think as hard. I don't have to make sure I've answered or responded to all the things. AI gives me that structure, and then all I have to do is tweak it a little bit. So I highly recommend leveraging AI or Claude as a communication tool to assist you in making sure that you, bring you to the table. So the next thing I want to talk about in this lane is content ideas. Content can be like one of those things that like just freezes us. Like you sit down, you're like, golly, I've got to post something, I've got to write something, and you just have brain freeze. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So for this, I turn to ChatGPT and I ask it to spit out a list of hot topics, and once I've done that, you've got to put on your creative thinking cap. Don't just take these ideas that, AI gives you and run with them like a chicken with their head cut off, right? You really want to really focus in on each one and ask yourself, okay, could I talk about this? What's my spin on it? what kind of mess did I get into that really relates to this? Because what, like I said before, that authenticity piece, it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. People want to see the mess. And, maybe ChatGPT would suggest, 5 ways to overcome imposter syndrome. And I'll take that idea and turn it into, well, okay, 5 times I felt like a fraud, and, how I faked it until I made it. So take the concepts and then put your spin on it. I think that's going to be invaluable because it creates a creative partner, and it gets you over the brain freeze. So AI can help you get to a place where you can actually do something with, instead of sitting there all day. What am I gonna put out in the world, right? So use it as a creative partner. Now, one other tip I have for you is, and I think this is something that you may surprise you, but I actually use AI to help me be more present and human during live interactions. How? So, like if I am on a sales call, for example, I want to make sure that I can pay attention. Traditionally or historically, whichever way you want to word it, I've been trying to make notes, trying to make sure that I can on all the important things. And now I can really just focus and be present in the conversation without having to, focus on all the external things that I would traditionally worry about. But how do I do that? I use a tool called Fathom.video during my live calls, sales calls, across the board. Any call that I have, I usually record them because I want to follow up. And this has been a game changer, bigger than what, indoor plumbing? I mean, seriously, it's been a huge game changer for me. Fathom records and transcribes my calls faster than I can jump off of the call. But here's where the magic happens. After the call is over, I take that transcript and I feed it to my AI tool. Depending on what AI tool of choice you want to use. For me, since I'm engaging with my potential customer here, I normally use Claude for this. Now, I ask it to do a few things. I ask it to pick up on emotional undercurrents in the conversation, because sometimes what folks don't say is louder than what they do say. So I want to know, like, what are those emotional triggers? And then I ask it to identify what they truly want to achieve by working with me. And again, read between the lines, if you will. That's essentially what I'm asking it to do. And then I want AI's help in keying in on any objections that they might have. Those little seeds of doubt, like, they're hiding in the recesses of their mind. And then I ask the AI tool of choice, Claude in my example, to help me write a. So it's like having a mind reading assistant. And I'm going to tell you what, like, seriously, y'all, let me tell you what this has done for my business. This one thing has increased my sales by, I think, over 35%. Last time we tracked it, I mean, there's quantifying things that I can't put a touch point on, but I'm almost positive that just by virtue of me being able to follow up consistently and immediately and really key in on the emotions, one, two, what are they not saying, and their objections, that has absolutely increased my sales. And honestly, that's a huge thing. And I hope you, if nothing else, you take that and run with it. And again, tools are fantastic helpers, but they can't replace you. You still have to come take a peek at all of it and make sure it is a representative of you and your voice, and how you want to, step up and lead through a communication perspective. Um, so hopefully that has kind of give you some strategies that you can run with. And it really helps you build out a deeper, truer connection with your community. I think maybe this is a good analogy. I think AI is kind of like a paintbrush. It can help you create something beautiful, but you're the artist deciding what to paint and how to paint it. Your experiences, your knowledge, your empathy, your ability to read between the lines, and offer real support and value, that's what's going to turn your group of people into a true community. So just again, I feel like I want to really lean into what's going to help you build a community of your peeps, because there is value, immense value in having a holding place today to serve your avatar. The person that's most interested in has raised their hand and said, I want to be a part of your community. All right. We're on step 4. We're getting there, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Step 4 is fostering human connections the old-fashioned way. We've gotten lazy. I'm just going to say it. We've gotten lazy. AI does give us the ability to communicate at a higher level. It gives us the ability to do a lot of things faster. I would even argue better. But I feel like social media has made us lazy. It goes back to we have got to get back to human connection in our marketing, and AI. When I say human connection, the very term AI, I think messes with people's minds, because they're like, well, how do we do that? So again, let's see how we marry these two concepts together in a way that makes sense, so we can get back to really fostering real relationships. So we fostering real human, I'll call it human connections that make your community stickier than a hot cinnamon bun. You got to do the things. So how do you do it? I think sometimes the old ways are the best ways. So I'll say no fancy AI required, just some good old-fashioned human interaction. So first strategy I have for you in this lane is live sessions. There's nothing quite like face-to-face interaction, even if it's through a screen. So what we're doing here, you could just listen to me for sure. That's what a lot of podcasts are about. Some people though, and some people prefer that. Some people prefer just listening to content, and they're cool with that. Some people like to see the person and listen too. So setting up and maybe weekly or monthly live video calls where your community members can see your smiling face and interact with each other in real time. One of the things I used to love about Periscope, for those of you who remember the Periscope days, for all the, I really miss it, because one of the things that was so fabulous about Periscope was the community building feature. So when I say I want to build a community isn't about me just spouting out information to you guys. It's really about the community members connecting and fostering relationships even with each other and supporting one another. A community is encompassing. It's all people. Now there may be obviously a leader to that community, but being able to foster true community, I think, does take showing up and encouraging. And I want to say that real quick to you guys, encourage you to connect with other people that you see on the call or the live show that we have. Connect with one another, see if there's an opportunity to collaborate or support one another. Or learn from one another. We all have skill sets. I'm not the only one that knows stuff. You know stuff. I don't know. You have an area of expertise that is huge, immense. And so, connecting with other people and sharing the knowledge that you have in a face-to-face way, I think it's been one of my best strategies for connecting to people in such a way that they feel seen and heard and valued, and for me to give value as well. So that's my first strategy. I think Q&A sessions are also great. So whether you host expert interviews or just have an open chat, I think the key to this though is consistency. So making it like a regular thing, like, a Sunday dinner at grandma's, or, whatever that looks like for you. But folks start to get used to that. They start to look forward to these calls, just like, the puppy dog does, waiting for you to come back home. One of the things about having a fur baby is they're just as excited to see you if it's been 10 minutes or, 10 hours. So, that's the kind of thought process that you want to build out, is bring so much value to the table that your community can't wait to hear from you. And then the third, strategy that I have for you is discussion threads. Now, this is something anyone can do. So if you push back on the idea of going live or doing, open Q&As, then do this instead. Every week, start a new discussion thread in your community or even on social media as you're starting to build out your community. Maybe it's a Win Wednesday where everyone shares a recent success that they've had, or Failure Friday, where folks can open up about their struggles and ask for advice from other community members. Now, keep in mind that I think Failure Friday would probably be better served inside of a closed ecosystem, meaning maybe not on social media, maybe inside of the community itself, because a lot of times people don't want to publicly post their failures. You have to know your community and understand this. But the point is, you could do this, and it could be, like I said, it could be Win Wednesday, it could be Failure Friday, it could be whatever you want to call it. But opening up discussion threads in social and inside of your community so that magic can happen. So magic happens when, people can actively participate in a conversation around these things. So sharing their wins or their losses, or when someone posts a struggle, don't just leave it to the community to respond, because sometimes they won't, because they don't want to criticize or they don't want to feel like they're coming across negatively, right? So jump in there, faster than a cat on a hot tin roof, and offer your support or your advice. And then that will jumpstart the conversation, hopefully at a higher level. And then the third strategy I have for you is spotlighting your members. This is such a great way to make your members feel more special than, it's one of the things I find fascinating about what motivates people and encourages people is recognition. So recognize people once a week or a month, spotlight someone in the community, ask them to share their story, their business journey, their biggest lessons learned, that kind of thing. It could be one of these things. It could be all of these things. But don't just stop at posting their story. Encourage other members to ask questions, offer support, or share their experiences if they've had a similar experience. So it's like hosting kind of like a neighborhood gathering, right? Like everybody gets together in the driveway or, in the backyard, where everyone gets a chance to shine. And then another strategy that I'm going to throw out there to you is, and this is a super simple one, it's facilitating peer-to-peer connections. Now, I've heard so many people over the years say their superpower is connection. But when you notice two members who might benefit from knowing each other, then that might be your superpower. If you start to step into this strategy, make an intro, introduce them. It could be as simple as, hey, Sarah, I noticed you're struggling with your email marketing, and John here is a whiz at it. John, would you mind sharing some tips with Sarah? So these personal introductions can spark friendships, collaborations, and support systems that'll make your community stronger than day old coffee, right? and day old coffee might not be awesome, but sharing the connection, introducing people to one another, that is magical. And then one last strategy I have in this lane is sharing milestones and achievements. So keep an eye out for, community members that have had milestones or achievements, big or small. Did someone launch a new product? Celebrate it. Celebrate it. Did a member hit their first 1,000 subscribers? Throw a virtual party. Celebrate opportunities like this that showcase that you see and that you care about your community members. So it's like having, I will call it a community bulletin board, where the good news spreads faster than gossip at a church picnic, right? So here's the secret sauce to all of this. Your genuine involvement. You've got to be present. You've got to pay attention. And I think this is super powerful part of really building out a community that's going to foster not just more engagement, but potential clients as well. So roll up your sleeve, dig into these community building activities, and before you know it, you're going to have a community that's tighter than the bark on a tree, and more importantly, more connected and supportive than a group, any group that you could even imagine. So step 5, we're there. We're on step 5, y'all. So step 5 is, it is one of the most pushback things that I hear most frequently. I don't want to come across as a sleazy salesman, right? You got to get comfy with monetization. People, y'all are in business. You've got to put offers out on the table. If you don't, your business is going to not be, it's going to be a hobby instead of a business. So you've got to get comfortable with monetization. And I've always struggled with this. I struggled initially myself, like, okay, putting offers out there. That sounds great, but what? Like, that sounds like I'm trying to sell people something all the time. But the reverse is this, and I want you to hear this. The reverse is, if you've got something that is going to help your person, why in the world would you be selfish enough to not share it? I want you to think about that for a second. Because the reality is, when you don't put offers out into your community that is going to help them, you are being selfish. Ouch. Right? That's a little bit of an ouchie. So I think this makes people super nervous, but monetizing your community is essential. And there's no shame in making money from something that you've poured your heart and soul into. And I know, a lot of people are like, but won't people think I'm just in it for the money? Well, maybe, but if you're providing real value, your community will be happier than a pig and pootie. That's a Southern saying. So let's talk about some ways to monetize that, so that it feels as natural as, comes naturally to you. So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas. One thing is a tiered membership to get access to value that you have or your expertise. So one of the things that school allows us to do is to accept payments right through the community. So I want you to think about this like it's a VIP section at a concert. Your free community is general admission. It's still a great time, but the VIP sections get some extra perks. So maybe your paid tiers get exclusive content, early access to new resources, or one-on-one coaching sessions with yours truly, right? So the key is to make sure that each tier feels worth its weight in gold. You want folks moving up to the next level faster than a jackrabbit on a date, right? Man, I'm just full of these Southern sayings today. So that's one strategy, where you have a free community that is open to everyone. It's, again, general admission, but thinking through your knowledge base to where you can set up some tiered membership or access through tiered membership. So that's one way. The second is digital products. I think this is going to be huge for anybody that's building an active community. I think this is where we really shine when it comes to giving value. So taking all of that knowledge that's bouncing around in your brain and turn it into guides or courses or workshops. Maybe it's a step-by-step guide on how to turn your passion into profit, or a video course on, mastering social media without losing your mind. The beauty of digital products is that they're easier to create than pie, especially today with the use of AI. And you can sell them over and over again without lifting a finger once you've created it one time. So it's like planting a money tree in your digital backyard. If you don't have a digital product, I highly recommend thinking that process through. Like I say, now with the advent of AI, it gives us the ability. There is really no excuse anymore for not having digital products, because AI can whip that stuff up for us, and with just some oversight from our creative brain and experience, we can make it uniquely ours and serve our audience at a much higher level. So absolutely, digital products, check that and get her done, as I say. The third strategy I have for you is affiliate partnerships. Now, I don't want you thinking you got to go running for the hills, thinking this is some like sleazy sales tactic. I think when done right, affiliate partnerships are super powerful and can really be helpful for our audience. I think the trick is to only promote products or services that you truly believe in, ones that you would recommend to your own mama, in other words, or your grandma. Share your honest experience with the product, both the good and the bad. your community built has a trust factor with you. So you want to make sure that you don't go breaking that trust for a quick buck. When you do this right, and then it's a win-win. When your community gets great recommendations and you make some money and the companies get new customers. So affiliate revenue, affiliate marketing is huge. And like I said last week, I feel like the whole blockchain piece kind of falls into this space where there's going to come a time when most major companies are going to be quote unquote on the blockchain, and they're going to be rewarding their customers through tokenization, meaning they're going to reward their customers just like affiliates are doing now for doing business with them. So think about this. This is going to be a huge opportunity, not only for now, this isn't something new, it's just going to be reinvented in a new way. So definitely form partnerships, reach out to companies that you love doing business with and see if they have an affiliate relationship, and then bring that into your communities. The next tip I have for you is sponsored content. Now, a lot of people think you have to be massive. Like I have to have a bunch of audience members or, a bunch of followers on social media to be able to take advantage of this. And that is absolutely just not true. So think of sponsored content as like having a fancy guest speaker at your, I don't know, maybe your community barbecue or something, or if a brand aligns with your values and would genuinely benefit your community, create sponsored content. But in order to do that, you have to do some outreach, maybe like you outreach to that brand and say, hey, do you do sponsored content? Don't wait for things to come your way. A lot of times these brands are looking for, I will call them micro influencers or nano influencers, and they're willing to partner with you and pay you to get in front of your audience. But you do have to be transparent with your audience. Always disclose where the content or when the content is sponsored, and only work with brands that you'd stake your reputation on. That's huge because, again, with your community trusts you. If you violate that trust just to earn some dollars, then you've lost that trust. So be very careful about that. But you can absolutely reach out to brands that you love and say, hey, I'd like to create some sponsored content. Now, what's the difference between sponsored content and an affiliate relationship? An affiliate relationship, I think, is just a little bit more of you just get a kickback for sharing it if somebody in your audience reaches out or does business with that brand. A sponsored piece of content is a little more of a heavy lift. So you are obviously going to get paid for that. It usually is more than what you would earn on an affiliate one-to-one affiliate relationship, but you're also going to get the value of, or the brand is going to get the value of that content continually creating leads and sales for them. So it's a combination. Sometimes they can go hand in hand too. So sometimes, in other words, the brand will be open to you double dipping. They'll be open to you being able to sponsor, they'll be open to them paying you for the sponsored content, but they'll also allow you to use an affiliate link, which is a win-win, obviously, for you. And then last strategy I have for you, guys, you've built this community because you've got knowledge that people value. So opening up a consulting or coaching services opportunity and offer just is wicked smart. So if they know you have value, why not offer one-to-one or group coaching sessions? It's like, being the wise old owl of your digital forest, sharing your wisdom with those who need it most, starting like simple things with like office hours where your community members can book short sessions with you. And then as demand grows, you could expand to more comprehensive coaching packages. But I think the secret to this, or for all of this really, is it's about the value that you're providing. If you are leaning into the motto that I live by, serve, don't sell, the sales will come. If you're consistently showing up, sharing your expertise and helping your community members achieve the things that they want to achieve in their business or their goals, they're going to be more happy to support you financially. So remember, monetizing your community isn't about squeezing every little penny out of them. It's about creating a sustainable model that allows you to continue to serve your community to the best of your ability, and also receive the value back from that effort. So, it's like passing the plate at church. People give because they value what they're receiving. So don't be shy about monetizing your business or in your community. Hold your head high, knowing that every dollar you earn is a testament to the value that you're providing. And if you're not providing value or enough value, that could also impact. Guess your community isn't just buying a product or service, they're investing in their own growth and success with you as their trusted guide. So keep that in mind, so that you can start to monetize the community that you are building. Keep in mind that AI isn't the answer to everything. So I just want to, touch back on the 5 key points that I made today. Define your community's purpose with your heart, not just some algorithm. 2, get to know your members like you would your own family. 3, bring your full authentic self to every interaction. Foster those connections that are stronger so that they get stronger than, maybe your mama's coffee. Don't be shy about monetizing. Your value is worth every penny. Now, again, I've said it before, AI is great. It's going to be a tool set for you, but you are the magic sauce here. And I really just want to key in on making sure that you bring your knowledge, your expertise to the table when it comes to leveraging the power of AI. So I want to remind everybody, I'm going to cut off just in a second as it relates to the podcast side of this, but we're going to be doing these every week, same time, same place, serving up as good hot tech wisdom faster than I would say, bless your heart. But until next time, I want you to stay bold, stay brilliant, and keep pushing those tech boundaries. I'm going to open it up to any questions that we might have had now that we've finished up the podcast part. Yes. So Edward says, build it, serving your community, and they will come. If anybody has any specific questions, please feel free to drop them in. I feel like that is where true learning comes. So if I said anything, I know one of the things that a lot of people are still in the process of figuring out is, do I even need or want a community? Is that one more thing? One of the things I guess I should have said on the front side of this is the value of a community. Today, to quote Gary Vee, and I think it's like crazy ridiculous, we are day traders of attention, and it's getting harder and harder for us to stand out. If I was to start my social media journey today and try to do what I've done and what I've built, it would be very difficult for me to do, which is where a lot of people are. They're just getting started, or they haven't really built a very strong following in social media yet, and they may be struggling to get sales. So having a holding spot where you can serve your ideal customer, attract them to a place where you can serve them at a higher level, I think is going to be invaluable to pretty much any business owner today. I know it may seem like one more thing, but I think it could be the thing. So, Valerie, I'm so excited that you were here. Thanks for joining us. And if anybody has any last minute things before I jump off, feel free again to pass this on. We are like building our wings on the way down as we build out this podcast. But I appreciate your time and energy today, guys. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.